Hello, welcome to episode 4 of our podcast here at Education Design Lab. Here at the lab, we're a diverse team with an expertise in higher education who believes that designing models from a learner perspective can help address equity and skills gaps in the world of work, and that education is the most important lever for economic mobility. My name is Ayana Conway, and I am the social media and community specialist here at Education Design Lab, and I will be your lovely host for this episode. Today's guest is a little bit of a secret, but I'm going to let you know a little bit about her so you can guess who she is. She is the director of early college programs at College of Eastern Idaho. She has worked in higher education for over 10 years, with majority of that time spent in Utah and Idaho working on high school initiatives and outreach programming, and has been a frequent presenter at regional and national conferences, including NACEP, which is the National Alliance of Concurrent Enrollment Partnerships, and the NACADA, which is an association of professional advisors, counselors, faculty, administrators, and students working to enhance the educational development of students, of course. And without further ado, please help me welcome Mary Stephenson. Mary, how are you? It's nice to virtually meet you. How are you feeling?
Oh, I'm so good. It's so nice to meet you as well. I'm always excited when I get to spend the day or at least an hour with labbies.
I've heard amazing things about the work that you're doing at the College of Eastern Idaho, and we're definitely going to talk about that. But first, I wanted to know, have you always lived in Idaho? And can you tell the podcast a little bit about how you got started working in education?
No, I'm not from Idaho. I'm actually from Utah, so just, around the corner. Um, but I've been in Idaho for about 3.5 years, and this is working at College of Eastern Idaho is the third institution that I've worked at in higher ed. But I got started in higher education kind of in a, I would say my career is like a winding road, which is the reality for a lot of people. So I'm a first generation college student, and I'm also from a really rural place. I started working in higher education as a work study when I first went to college after high school. And I was really fortunate to have a great mentor right off the bat that really I got some exposure to higher education in a unique way because I was given a lot of responsibility at a really young age. But when I got my associate degree, I went into private industry, and I was there for almost 15 years before I decided to come back. But I didn't have the right kind of degree for the jobs that I wanted. And so as I've been back in higher education, I've been working. I've also I've gotten a bachelor's degree and a master's degree when I came back and started working in education again. I always say education really isn't linear for a lot of people, more like a squiggly line, and I was definitely on a squiggly path.
Yes, I can testify, I guess you could say, to the education not being a straight line. I've had my own fair of struggles with my own educational attainment, but ultimately I share the same accomplishment of being a first generational college graduate. And that is something I'm very proud of. Yes, I know when you were talking about your educational background, I wanted to be like, congrats on that bachelor's degree. And of course, your master's. I aspire to get my master's as well. So even though you've had your ups and downs and your squiggly line, I'm sure you are very proud of yourself to, be here today and have an impact on the learners that you do.
And becoming that lifelong learner, which I know we're going to talk about some of those things today in the podcast, but those are just the realities of life, right? Life changes, and you need new opportunities and new things as you go along. So,
yeah, the ability to adapt to life is, I think, everyone's superpower. I feel like life just throws so many challenges and different avenues, or you take different avenues than what you originally thought you were. I know, speaking for myself, the only time I had the opportunity to go to Idaho was when I was thinking that I was going to tour with the dance convention and be their intern and work the dance convention lifestyle, but that ended up not working out. And I ended up learning that Idaho is way more than just potatoes. I think Idaho has that's their main rep, at least for my instance. And I actually had my very first snowfall in Idaho. So Idaho tends to have a very special place in my heart. So, what would you say, Mary, are some notable things that not everyone knows about Idaho?
Well, I think your experience with snow could happen almost any time here. We're recording this at the end of May, and I feel like we just barely are coming out of winter. Um,
What?
but what I will say, I think that very much like my home state of Utah, Idaho is just an outdoor paradise. So yes, we're known for potatoes, but where College of Idaho is located in Idaho Falls, we're very close to Yellowstone National Park and Grand Teton National Park. But the whole state is just breathtaking. But there's a lot to do here, and there's a lot of focus on outdoor activities in all seasons. So you should come back and experience a little more snow.
I
I'll take
know.
you around.
Yes, you'd be the perfect tour guide. I live in Arizona, so Grand Canyon and Sedona and the Red Rock. I'm kind of getting those vibes with Idaho, but I was only there for a short amount of time and it was cold, so I didn't get to experience that. Now, every month there seems to be some sort of recognition or celebration nowadays. Every month is a whole new theme. But in April of this year, it was Community College Month. So, did the College of Eastern Idaho do anything special to celebrate?
We spent April celebrating our students a lot this year. So you may or may not know, but College of Eastern Idaho, in its current form as a community college, is only 5 years old. So we were a technical school for many, many years, almost 50 years prior to that. But the residents of this county voted to turn CEI into a comprehensive community college. So we have all kinds of new things happening all of the time. And one of the highlights for us this year is, especially because we kind of were making this transition and then pandemic, and as you can imagine, how that could like play into some of the things that were happening. But we have some really great student-led initiatives that have been happening on campus. We have a speech and debate team for the first time, and they've gone to nationals and won awards. Our esports team has been competing nationally. So there's a lot of student initiatives going on that are really fun to watch that we were highlighting in the month of April.
I think that's amazing to hear, being that you're a fairly new community college, that you're still spotlighting the students and the learners first and not necessarily the college itself. I think outside looking in, you would see a rebrand of a college from a technical to a community college is more of like, look at us, come and enroll here, or kind of showboating more so the school than the learners. And I think that's so fun to hear that it was all about the learners in Community College Month. Similar to the lab, I'm sure that's probably why we are great friends. We are all about putting the learner first and being learner-centric. Speaking of the lab, which micro pathway are you working on with the lab's Community College Growth Engine? And is it different from the work that was completed with Bridges Rural at the lab?
CEI was really thrilled to be part of the Bridges Rural initiative that went out. And that's what we've been working on actually since 2020. That has been a really fun project to be involved with. I think the similarities between that and now what we're embarking on with the Community College Growth Engine Fund is that all of those things that we're working on with the help of the Education Design Lab have that designer mindset, and that we've learned how to use that designer mindset in what we do. And we also really love the learner engagement framework that is in both of those projects. So the projects have different goals, right? Bridges was looking at how community colleges could serve as an economic engine for different rural communities, and the micro pathways that you build through the Growth Engine Fund are kind of a different thing, looking at our own community and our own economic drivers around us. We decided that we need to focus a little bit on healthcare, a little bit on advanced manufacturing, and then a little bit on the automotive industry. Those are areas that we felt like we could do some micro pathways. We have some really great groundwork in the state of Idaho through a CTE program called SkillStack. that we'll use a little bit as a foundation, and then moving through the processes that we'll do with the design lab to kind of get those micro pathways off and going. We do a lot of upskilling and retooling with our workforce development division at CEI, but we're really excited to make these micro pathways that are going to be stackable and really have good pathways built out for students in lots of different situations.
Mary, I absolutely love hearing all that you're talking about as far as the work that you're doing with Education Design Lab, and hearing how excited you are for College of Eastern Idaho to embark on those new micro pathways as a part of Cohort 3. I am super excited for you. And of course, I'm even more excited that this is the first time you've been on a podcast. I know the lab is so excited to have you here, and we can't thank you enough for your time. You mentioned true community engagement takes time and work. Micro communities have very different needs, and learners' needs and wants are changing. Could you unpack that with your work at College of Eastern Idaho?
Being a small college, wanting to serve our region well, we have to really be mindful about and really intentional about the way we're approaching communities and the way that we're trying to serve them, because you can't just put this over here and expect it to work. Everything is a little bit different. And I think one of the things that we talk about too is we talk about scalability when it comes to programs. Sometimes what we need to do is scale down. I think often we think about scaling up, but sometimes we have to scale down in order to serve small rural communities, and figuring out kind of ways to do that is important. But one of the steps that's important is engaging with the learners and hearing from them instead of just assuming that you know what they need, right? It's actually hearing from them and hearing what it is that they want, and hearing from those local employers and those economic drivers about what they need to help their working populace be valuable, but be rooted in that rural or in that unique micro community that we're talking about. So it takes a lot of work and it takes a lot of dedication and intentionality about the way that you approach things.
Well, I think that's great. You're thinking in the grand scope of things, yes, but really, yes, putting the learner first. And I think that is tough as an institution to say, hey, you know what? We're actually going to listen to what you need versus planning programs and hoping for the best and not really seeing the results that you ultimately want to receive. I'm sure this is a great big step as College of Eastern Idaho continues to grow. And I'm really excited for your work. I'm really excited for your college as you continue to kind of be that, in the forefront of how to really innovate and shape community colleges, or the community colleges that we see today. I also want to mention, I'm like praising your college today. I would love to talk about such an exciting accomplishment that I'm not sure a lot of colleges get the experience to celebrate. In 2022, the College of Eastern Idaho was selected as a Lumina Foundation finalist for the $1 Million Community College Challenge, which is so exciting. This competition aimed to support the marketing and brand building at community colleges by awarding the first place winner with $1 million. And the College of Eastern Idaho secured a $100,000 prize. So how did this marketing challenge impact the marketing efforts at your college? Also, by the way, congratulations.
Thank you. Isn't that so exciting? We're really,
Yes.
really excited. There's such a great, amazing group of folks who work here and are always seeking opportunities and ways for us to grow. So the Lumina Challenge has been amazing, especially I think being in the position we are where we're a new community college and we are going through branding things and things like that, some big changes on campus. I think really it's helped us be intentional. I think it's helped us lean into our mission and really get down to remembering like why it is that we do things, and then how do we visually represent those things. And I think that being more visual is one of our big takeaways. Like, we're doing such great things and there's such great work that's happening, but how are we visually representing that so that we can share the good word, right? I also think it's been really fun to see some of the upgrades and from simple things to big things that are happening on campus, that we know are going to help our students feel more at home on our campus and have pride in the college that they're going to. And it's something that we're going to feel the impact of for a long time on our campus.
Oh, for sure. I wanted to ask a follow-up. At the 2023 Rural Summit Conference, you talked about the construction combine that happens at the College of Eastern Idaho. And how has that combine influenced your community, but more importantly, the learners?
Well, first I'll give you just a small synopsis about what the combine is. And this is an idea that we actually got from our neighbors down there at Idaho State University, started the first construction combine. But when we were doing the bridges work and we were in those rural communities and trying to figure out how we could provide training, short-term training, but also be responsive to the needs of individual communities, we thought, well, we know how to do a construction combine. We have the connections to do that. So that's what we decided to do. So we're not talking about tractors and potatoes. We're talking about, think like NFL combine, where you
Ooh.
spend the day moving through different rotations and learning different things or doing things in a short amount of time. That short-term training also can be kind of flexed into different disciplines. It doesn't have to be construction. One of the other bridges cohorts, Zane Community College, Zane State, they took that idea and ran with it and did kind of their own thing too.
Ooh, look
Um,
at you guys.
yeah. Well, the thing is that, I mean, again, talking about those micro communities and being able to serve the community that you're trying to trying to be there for, instead of having people having to drive hundreds of miles to get to things that we do here, how can we facilitate taking things, to other communities in a short-term environment? And what we've seen from that is high participation, and we also have been be able to collaborate with new partners, and really kind of open up new doors for different conversations to happen that weren't happening before. Again, it can be a big undertaking for a small college, but that's the kind of thing that is a win-win for everybody that's involved. But how we can take short-term training to communities that is really like just in time for what they are needing, for their working populace and different things like that. So it was really fun. And I think it's a scalable kind of thing, up or down.
Now, based on all of your experience, Mary, being that you work in dual enrollment and, of course, your experience prior to College of Eastern Idaho, what would you say are your top 3 marketing tips for community colleges?
Number one is involving a cross-campus committee. We have great marketing departments, and there's professionals who are doing this, thank goodness, right?
Yeah.
But there's so many voices on a college campus and a community college campus that can really add great things to a conversation. So I think having some kind of cross-campus committee going on is really valuable to your marketing team. I think understanding your brand is another key to success. And the brand isn't necessarily the marketing, right? Your brand is more about how people feel. What's the emotion tied in to the College of Eastern Idaho? And really leaning into that and expanding from there. And then I think right now, we all need to tell stories, right? We're telling stories today. And I think being visual, like we talked about earlier, is a
Mm-hmm.
really important part of having success. And I think that, again, the learner, the new majority learner that the lab talks about, right? All of the
Yep.
people that we're trying to help, they are getting their information in visual, modern ways. And so you have to kind of jump on that and figure out how to do it. You only asked me for 3, but I'll give you 4. But the fourth one is, again, like letting students tell your story. I think that that is a really key part of success. I do work in dual credit, and so one of the things that we try to do in our marketing materials is make sure that the images we're using are of high school students. And then using our own students as often as we can is a great way to tell your story. So I think those are the things that that make a difference for marketing today. But I think you have to do all the things, and that's why marketing is so hard, because you have to do
Yeah.
all the
And speaking of kind of relating yourself to the learners, we're on a video podcast. Who would have thought that higher education would be on a platform that's so forward and so trendy and is allowing this information to be accessible to those who wouldn't necessarily have it, or we're able to teach those who are in this space ways that they can improve the work that they're already doing. Mary, now that we've talked about the marketing tactics accessible to community colleges, I would love to talk about how to actually utilize them so that we could hopefully allow community colleges to also attract learners and get them enrolled. One of the most infamous things that I've heard about you, and I know this is the first time we've ever met, was the fact that the College of Eastern Idaho got a Jeep wrapped in the College of Eastern Idaho logo, which is something you don't really hear often. So I want to learn, or I would love to learn, the steps that you took or your college took in order to actually make that happen.
Oh, this is a fun story. The Jeep. So, so with the Bridges Rural Challenge, one of the things that the lab takes you through when you work with the Education Design Lab, again, is surveying your community and learning more about what they know about you. Um, and it was interesting. One of the things that we learned is that a lot of people would express that wished we had services that we actually already have. And this is something that a lot of the other community colleges in the Bridges cohort had kind of similar experiences with that. So it kind of just made us think, well, how can we get the word out in different ways? So we knew we wanted to have some kind of a mobile marketing aspect to our Bridges project. And we went through a number of different options that we could do. And we ended up settling on buying a Jeep. And
Of
then
course,
we
come
right.
on, yeah.
This is Idaho, right? So we wanted literally we were like, we need something that's four-wheel drive that we can drive to places that the roads get closed in the winter and things like that.
Wait, that
So
would
and
actually
then
make
we
sense.
we branded it and wrapped it with a beautiful full wrap. So now everywhere we go, people recognize all of those branding tactics. So the colors, our logo, our mascot, all of those things are part of that Jeep. And it definitely gives us a way to get out to places that we want to get to in the summer with the top off, or in the winter when there's a blizzard.
Now, who gets to drive this Jeep, and was there any impact on learner enrollment at the College of Eastern Idaho?
I mean, anybody who can drive a stick can drive the Jeep.
Okay.
So that does make it a little bit smaller of a
Yeah.
group that can drive it. We use it a lot to go to events. We use it to go to high schools. Again, I work in dual credit, so I take it when I go to high schools and different things like that. You know, we take it and put it in local parades at different places, or we might take it to just, an event like the farmers market or something that's going on. So, and we also wanted to buy a vehicle that we could haul things, because if we are going to an event, we need a lot of things with us. So, and sometimes that's computers, and sometimes that's different things for us to help people get signed up. So it's a very useful but fun way to approach something like that. And it definitely gets noticed, and people, say, "Oh my gosh, I love it so much." And then I think that it helps with that brand recognition that's important, since we're talking about marketing today.
Yes, I was gonna say the exact same thing. If everyone is already aware, at least in your region of College of Eastern Idaho region, of this Jeep, then of course, whenever they see it, they're going to see that logo. Whenever they see that logo, they're going to think, oh, this is a cool school to go to. It's like all encompassed in one, which is so smart. It was such a smart marketing decision that you guys all made. No, Mary, I could not thank you enough for giving our watchers and listeners a tons of valuable information that they can use. But is there anything else that maybe you want them to know about the importance of community college?
Community colleges are just in the business of opportunity. And I think that at least I can talk probably for all community colleges, but certainly for ours, again, CEI is student-centered, but CEI is student-serving. And we are here to help learners get where they need to get and to help them find their version of success. So, certainly we have transfer degrees and we want to help students that are going down that traditional four-year path, but we also want to help students regardless of the type of success that they're after. There is a really fun quote that our vice president, Lori Barber, often shares. It says, this is from Kay Ryan, who was a Pulitzer Prize winner. It says, I simply want to celebrate the fact that right near your home, year in and year out, a community college is quietly and with very financial encouragement, saving lives and minds. I can't think of a more efficient, hopeful, or egalitarian machine with the possible exception of a bicycle.
That is very
I
visual.
just love that quote. And
Yeah.
I think that really is a good description of the value community colleges bring.
100%. I got a really clear picture in my head of a community college that is literally down the street next to me, and I'm sure that they're making some really good strides as well. Now, Mary, at the very end of our podcast episodes, we love to ask our very lovely guest a thought-provoking question. So I'm going to throw a quote back at you of some statistics. According to Big Future, more than 40% of U.S. undergraduate students attend community colleges, and 18 to 24-year-old learners make up the largest age group, which include working adults, retirees, and others who want to learn. So, how can community colleges actually help learners achieve their career goals in a shorter time frame rather than taking the traditional route of earning a four-year degree?
Oh, such a good question, and so centered in the work that we're doing with the lab and also just things that we're generally genuinely interested in. So I think one of the biggest challenges for colleges is to be visual. I know I keep saying that today, but I really think it's important.
Of course it is.
But being visual about the opportunities and then also being really clear about pathways. I don't think that we make it easy enough to find the answer sometimes and say, if you do this, you get this. Or if you invest 1 year in yourself, this is where it could lead you. Right. And so clarity in pathways, I think, is something that I would like to see us all be better at. But certainly I think that can help with some of the success. And then I think the other thing is just that what we're seeing in the world of work, right, is that people need retooling, and people might have this career for a certain amount of time and then they need to change to something else. So having things that can be done in a short amount of time and lead to great results, but that are also stackable so that if students or learners do want to keep going, that it all builds and you don't have to feel like you're starting over at the bottom. And I'm glad that CEI, we have really supportive administration that really says we're going to dive into stuff like this and try to make it work. So, but what exciting work that the lab is doing. And we're so grateful for our connection to the design lab and all of the opportunities that we've gotten in a very short amount of time through our association with such great folks. So thank you so much.
Oh, you're gonna bring a tear to my eye. I'm sure that this is gonna make a lot of our labbies so proud to hear this from you, especially
My
because
goal is to make
don't do it. So shout out to all Yes, they'll be happy tears of course. But shout out to all of the labbies working on Community College Growth Engine and, of course, Bridges Rule, because, of course, College of Eastern Idaho has firsthand experience of the amazing work that Education Design Lab was able to produce, and the the fruits of that labor are definitely showcased in this episode. So, Mary, thank you again so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to be with me today on our podcast, Education Design Lab. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. That is it, everyone.
Thank you for inviting me. It was an honor.
Of course, we might have to, invite you back and do like a panel or something.
Oh, that would be fun.
Yeah.
We have great connections with all of our different members of our cohorts in different areas. So we can maybe, let's invite the great Leslie too.
Yes, I'm sure that would be a ball. I love Leslie. Leslie was our first podcast guest and she did an amazing job. So to all of our watchers and listeners watching and listening to this podcast episode, we will see you on the next one. Have a good day.